Florida is one of the fastest growing states in the United States, not just economically, but also in terms of population. With more than 22 million residents by 2025, it will surpass New York to become the third most populous state, behind only California and Texas. But a closer look at the population map reveals a striking fact. While South Florida, home to Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and West Palm Beach, and Central Florida, with Orlando and Tampa, are exploding in population and rapidly developing infrastructure, North Florida remains surprisingly low in population density. Northern Florida, which covers nearly a third of the state, has just 3 million residents, less than 14% of the total population. Much of that population is concentrated in a few cities like Jacksonville and Tallahassee, leaving large swaths of land sparsely populated or completely empty. So why is population density so unevenly distributed? There are many reasons why Northern Florida remains one of the most sparsely populated regions in an otherwise booming state. Reasons that go beyond just numbers on a map. To understand that, we will explore the challenges that make Northern Florida less attractive than others. Reason 1. Economic limitation. Economic limitations are a central reason why Northern Florida remains far less populated than the southern and central regions of the state. The local economy is heavily reliant on traditional, lower-growth industries such as agriculture, forestry, and corrections, with limited presence of high-value sectors like technology, finance, healthcare, or advanced manufacturing. Unlike Miami, which thrives on international trade and finance, or Orlando, which benefits from a massive tourism economy anchored by global attractions, Northern Florida lacks a major economic driver that can sustain long-term population growth and attract a diverse workforce. In many counties, job opportunities are limited, wages are lower, and upward mobility is harder to find. The absence of major corporate headquarters, research institutions, and innovation hubs means young professionals and recent graduates often have no choice but to leave the region in search of better opportunities elsewhere. Small businesses, which form the backbone of many Northern Florida communities, often operate with thin margins and limited support, making them vulnerable to economic downturns. This economic stagnation also leads to a limited tax base, which further restricts public investment in infrastructure, education, and healthcare, key factors that typically attract and retain residents. Reason 2. Rugged mountains and isolation. Geography is also a factor in why Northern Florida has such a large area, yet such a low population density. Unlike South Florida, with its famous beaches, dense urban landscapes, and developed infrastructure, Northern Florida is largely forested, farmland, swamps, and coastal lowlands. Large areas such as the Apalachicola National Forest, Osceola Forest, and wetlands along the Gulf of Mexico create a pristine landscape, but at the same time, they also pose obstacles to large-scale urban development. The terrain is relatively flat, but is frequently affected by inundation, flooding, and salinity from coastal ecosystems, making infrastructure construction costly and unattractive to real estate investors. Many areas are not suitable for residential or agricultural use due to poor soil conditions or being located in nature reserves. In addition, the long distances between major urban areas and lack of strategic transportation routes add to the sense of isolation. While areas like Miami, Tampa, and Orlando are strategically located near major seaports, international airports, and international trade routes, much of Northern Florida lies outside major trade routes. This reduces the ability to attract investment, limits industrial development, and leads to economic stagnation, a vicious cycle in which geography acts not only as a natural barrier but also as a defining factor in the region's depopulation. Reason 3. Less infrastructure and development. Another major reason Northern Florida remains sparsely populated is its lack of infrastructure and large-scale development. While South and Central Florida have seen decades of sustained investment in highways, airports, public transportation, healthcare systems, and urban planning, Northern Florida has largely lagged behind. Many areas in the region are still connected by narrow two-lane highways rather than major interstates, and some rural counties lack access to modern utilities like high-speed internet or advanced healthcare facilities. Public transit is nearly non-existent outside of a few cities. And even basic services like hospitals, universities, and shopping centers are spread thin across vast rural areas. This limited infrastructure discourages both people and businesses from settling in the region. For individuals, it means fewer job opportunities, longer travel times, and reduced access to education and healthcare. For companies, it signals higher costs and logistical challenges. Without the transportation networks, broadband access, and commercial development found in other parts of the state, northern Florida struggles to attract the type of high-growth industries that drive population growth. While this underdevelopment helps preserve the area's natural landscapes and quiet rural character, it also creates a sense of isolation and disconnection. Reason 4. Outmigration of young people. One of the most significant reasons northern Florida remains underpopulated is the consistent outmigration of young people, which has created a long-term demographic and economic imbalance in the region. Many parts of northern Florida are rural and economically limited, offering few career opportunities outside of agriculture, small-scale retail, or low-wage service jobs. Without access to strong job markets, vibrant cultural life, or diverse higher education options, young people often feel compelled to leave, moving to urban centers like Orlando or Miami, or even out of state in pursuit of education, stability, and upward mobility. This trend is especially pronounced in smaller towns where school systems are underfunded, broadband access is limited, and local economies are not equipped to support modern industries. As young people leave and don't return, the population ages, local talent drains away, and communities lose their vitality. Over time, this ongoing exodus contributes not just to low population numbers, but to a deeper sense of stagnation and decline that makes it even harder to reverse the trend. Reason 5. Weather. Weather is also a key factor in why northern Florida, despite its tropical charm, has a low population density and is growing more slowly than other areas. Unlike the year-round sunshine of South Florida, northern Florida has a humid subtropical climate with long, hot, humid summers and short but significantly colder winters. During the summer months, temperatures regularly exceed 95 degrees Fahrenheit with high humidity, making it oppressive and uncomfortable, especially in areas without modern air conditioning or public utilities. In addition to the summer heat, northern Florida is also regularly hit by major hurricanes during the Atlantic hurricane season, which runs from June to November. Coastal areas like Pensacola and Panama City have suffered severe damage from high-level storms on multiple occasions, driving up homeowner insurance premiums, driving down property values, and making many people hesitant to consider permanent residence. The risk of flooding, prolonged power outages, and property damage from severe weather also diminishes the area's appeal to young workers, investors, and retirees, groups that are flocking to South Florida for its more stable climate and greater urban amenities. In other words, while Florida is the sunshine state, northern Florida's weather isn't quite as pleasant or ideal as it's commonly thought. The combination of harsh climate, high risk of natural disasters, and lack of adaptive infrastructure makes weather another natural barrier that keeps northern Florida a vast but sparsely populated land. Despite its limitations in infrastructure, economy, and urban development, northern Florida stands apart in ways that make it uniquely compelling, offering a side of the state that feels worlds away from the glossy image of Miami or the theme park buzz of Orlando. Culturally, northern Florida is where the Deep South meets the Sunshine State. It carries a distinctly Southern identity, with strong community ties, slower rhythms of life, and a sense of tradition that's often absent in Florida's more transient, fast-paced cities. From front porch country living and gospel churches to local festivals and Southern hospitality, this region reflects a more grounded, authentic slice of American life. Northern Florida is home to some of the state's most beautiful and untouched landscapes: the sprawling Apalachicola and Osceola National Forests, crystal-clear freshwater springs like Ichetucknee and Wakulla, and quiet Gulf Coast beaches like St. George Island. These areas offer a kind of solitude and ecological richness that's increasingly rare elsewhere in the state. The cost of living is generally lower, traffic is minimal, and the slower pace of life appeals to retirees, remote workers, and anyone looking for a quieter, simpler lifestyle. While it may lack the high-rise skylines or international appeal of Florida's metropolitan giants, Northern Florida offers something more subtle: space, stillness, and a sense of rootedness.